That's a great introduction about Monica Cristalli, and good luck.
Thank you so much. You can hear me or you can see me okay? All good?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I will share my screen.
Okay.
Give me just 1 second here. Can you see this tab?
Yes, we can see. Good to go.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. And yes, I'm joining you from Chicago. I am usually a very optimistic person. I want to talk today about transformative tools that help women overcome challenges and create a brighter future for themselves and for future generations. We'll touch on essential elements for holistic growth, and we will be looking at the world from a little bit of a different perspective. My name is Monica Cristalli. I'm a leader with more than 15 years experience in real estate industry with a focus on managerial strategies and operations. I'm deeply committed to supporting women on their leadership journeys through holistic leadership. My goal is not only to provide knowledge, but also to empower women to reclaim their autonomy, confidence, and personal power. My approach integrates systematic processes with mindful practices, ensuring my clients cultivate resilience, vision, and balance on their growth to self-realization. Women's empowerment isn't new. Generation before us has paved the way, and we have now are being seen as human beings, which is great, really, because we are great human beings. We have a right to vote, and we have entered the workforce on all the industries that are available to us. We have leadership roles and we have representations in media and politics, which have been historically dominated by male figures. Despite progress, we must address today's systemic and social barriers. We still have a global gender pay gap where women earn about 77 cents for every $1 men make. And in more developed countries, this gap is a little bit lower. Women still hold only about 29% of leadership roles worldwide, and there's still 1 in 3 women globally experience gender-based violence. This presentation, though, will focus on tools, not just issues, because actions lead to change. Let me tell you a little bit of a story. When I moved in the US in 2007, I dealt with some biases about European women, and one of them was beauty over brains. It's like, European women are beautiful, but they don't have the brains to operate, especially in a professional field, which is obviously not true. European women won't push back, sort of minding your own business and not speak up. A big one for me has been access equals less competent, which is really, really childish belief. And also the expectation to accept unfair treatment because you have to be grateful and not complaining. Now, I personally navigated these biases by being authentic in my expression. I learned to be authentic in my expression, not being afraid of who I am or where I am coming from, but most importantly, recognizing that these biases can only affect me if I allow them to. The true value was to change my perception and not so much changing someone else's mind about the biases. So let me explain this a little bit. I want to present to you a tool that I like to use, and it's entitled the Map of Consciousness. First, let me address what consciousness is. A lot of people explain it to be as the field out of which everything arises. Mary Mutter, who is a researcher and an author, she beautifully describes consciousness as a symphony, an overarching symphony. And our life experience on Earth is one note of this massive complex system showing our evolution through time. So one note of this huge symphony that's available for us. Now, David Calkins was a psychiatrist and a spiritual teacher. He had a clinic in California for, I think, more than 30 years, but he dedicated most of his life in studying consciousness. The consciousness map is a numeric representation of consciousness levels. The numeric is being represented by numbers that we comprehend, but it's very important to understand that the difference between each level is actually exponential. So the growth from one level to another is huge. For simplicity, the author presented the scale in a numeric way so that our rational brain can understand it. However, in reality, there is no lower to higher level. They're just different levels, because in consciousness, there's no such thing as a scale from something that's worse or better than the other. The map is split in three main paradigms: the survival paradigm, also known as the ego paradigm, the reason and integrity paradigm, and the spiritual paradigm. Now, the level 200, if you look at the courage level, it's actually the level of integrity. On the 200, the ego dictates the action. And let me tell you, this is where the biases live. Biases live out of the ego state. From our dominant emotional field, we attract and resonate with the corresponding field, meaning people, events, and experiences at the same calibration as we are. So let's look at willingness, for example, at level 310. If you are in an emotional state, you will see a world that is inspiring and hopeful. You will find all situations as being empowering and willing to provide you all the opportunities for you to succeed. The reason why this is important is because people who sustain biases and entertain them are the ones that resonate with that field. In other words, someone who lives in anger, they will have an overall response and behavior out of hate. They will see a world that is vengeful, and aggression is the way to play it out in the world. Biases are created and maintained by the lower fields on the 200. This is also known as the state of victimization, where we lament, we blame the world for everything that is happening to us, as if we have no say, as if we have no power. We're basically the victim of society, which of course is not true. Now, because we have the tendency as people to evolve, the better we understand from where we see the world, the easier it is for us to navigate it at our full potential without being altered by false beliefs. Biases are false beliefs, right? So we evolve and we transmute these false biases by operating from a higher field over 200, say courage or acceptance. Why? Because we can see the world as being in harmony, and we see the world as being empowering. The lower vibration beliefs are just an expression of people who haven't been able to transcend them. We understand that it is a consciousness limitation until they transcend that state of emotional being. So in other words, if they, until they move past the fear, until they move past hate, desire, or pride, until someone forgives, he or she cannot speak of forgiveness. Until someone learns to have trust, they cannot teach or talk about trust. So I hope this idea of transcendence really means that your dominant state of being changes. So if you are a person who lived in an environment that made them feel they're not being loved and made them feel they are being hated, they're most likely to grow into adults that are being hateful and operate from that state of hate until they learn to actually transcend that state. Now, that being said, women can rise above biases. As we have seen with the map of consciousness, we have the ability to rise above the biases, rise above the false collective beliefs, and shift the way we see the world. Just as the phoenix rises, we can rise from the ashes. The Son of God, Ra, died in flames. The legend said that he came back alive from its ashes. And we are doing this now. If we think about our generation, because we have a different sense of understanding how badly the influence of biases can change the way we work and the way we live our life. We are not the biases. We are unlimited in our potential, and we can overcome beliefs that do not serve us. The power of reframing biases stays in alignment with higher purpose and seeing them as opportunities for growth. We have learned to be subject to others' opinion, to take an opinion as truth. However, if we look at our self-worth as an inner journey, we can see that true self-worth comes from inner alignment, healing, and understanding our unique self and divine essence. Inner alignment means that we are moving in flow with our inner purpose and values, which requires self-reflection. Now, I want to pause for a little bit here and add a comment. When we think about self-reflection, we look at ourselves and we reflect with a critical eye. But reflection has to be done with compassion, humility, and even admiration towards our whole being, almost as if you're looking at a child. And why is this? Because we are whole and complete at every moment of our evolution. This means that regardless of the lack of knowledge, certifications, validation, we are the exact expression of consciousness in this moment. And guess what? This expression is perfect. And even if it doesn't feel like that, it's perfect and complete. When I was in the first grade in post-communist Romania, we had religion classes. In the first class, the priestess wife came in. And after our beginning prayer, she explained what consciousness was. She did not use the word consciousness. She said it very simply. She said that each of us has a drop, an essence of God in us. And this drop is our inner voice that will always guide us. We just have to listen. That is just divine essence. And isn't that wonderful? And such an easy way to put it for a child to understand. And this thought stayed with me. If each of us has a bit of God in us, then we have the power to recognize that essence and to say that we're more than what people believe of us. We are more than we see in the mirror. We have this unlimited potential, and we have to just learn, or as I like to say it sometimes, we have to remember who we are at core. The higher qualities of being a woman beyond the mundane. Women possess qualities that transcend the material world, making them powerful agents of transformation, healing, and wisdom. We have learned to accept the truth that comes forth through our intuition. And we have to continue learning this. What is intuition? Intuition is knowing without thinking. It is really a function of consciousness itself. Women's intuition is deeply connected to emotional intelligence. And even we have studies that have shown that women have a more active insula. Insula is actually the part of the brain linked to intuitive and deep awareness. We have a great example, which I think is very popular, which is Maya Angelou, who lived her life guided by intuition. And what she names to be, very pretty, whispers of the soul for all decision-making. Her life teaches us that intuition is not just a mystical force, but is a practical tool in navigating life, relationships, and leadership, of course. Emotional alchemy. Turning pain into power. I personally like the word alchemy because it shows a process of neutralizing a negative emotion and transforming it into a power, something that is tangible, and of course, something that you can use in your favor. Excuse me. The Wounded Healer states that those who experience deep challenges often become the best healers and leaders. This concept in my modern psychology, figures like Carl Jung have explored how personal wounds can lead to a deeper understanding of human suffering and consequently a more profound capacity to heal others. Jung believed that the feminine energy can be a powerful tool for healing, cultivating empathy, and connecting to creative potential. It is no wonder that most of the healers are women. Shakti, another framework or another figure that I like to use in this concept of source of power. Shakti is the source of creativity and movement. In Hinduism, Shakti is unseparated from Shiva. Now, Shiva is the divine consciousness, and potential, and Shakti is the force that brings everything into action. It is the energy that fuels idea, innovations, and the ability to bring dreams into reality. Now, in a modern context, embracing Shakti means embodying authenticity and emotional intelligence and intuitive leadership, which we're going to touch on a little bit. It is about reclaiming one power. It is about breaking societal limitations and leading from a place of wholeness rather than force. Creation and nurturing, not just in motherhood and in life, because we are known to be very nurturing when it comes to being moms. The ability to create and nurture expands beyond childbirth to ideas, relationships, businesses, and entire movements. Women are depicted as nurturers of abundance, wisdom, and sustenance. The Hindu goddess Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth and fortune and prosperity, and this applies both in the material and spiritual side of the world. It is a powerful symbol of abundance and wisdom in Hinduism, embodying virtues that resonate deeply with the nurturing roles often associated with women. She is the goddess of wealth and abundance, the symbol of beauty, and she serves as an inspiration for women, embodying qualities that many find admirable and aspire to embody. She's representing the natural tendencies of women towards wisdom and abundance. Women tend to develop nurturing leadership styles that encourage empathy and understanding. And we are community builders. We like collaborations. We aim to provide support and form these collaborations and sustain them for long term. I noticed that allowing our so-called soft skill to be put in practice, we are actually facilitating our own voice into a natural tendency to nurture groups into their growth. Nurturing leadership styles in women. Now, women bring unique leadership styles that emphasize connection, emotional intelligence, and empowerment. These leadership styles create workplaces that are more inclusive, innovative, and sustainable. Holistic leadership changes come from within. Empower yourself and remind others to empower themselves, with the premise that we're all perfect expression of who we are at that specific moment. We can always evolve, but this continuous remembrance that we are whole and complete at every moment, it's just so empowering and so useful because we're seeing all parts of our life working together through leaders to our journey. And that is just not saying I'm going to focus on studying leadership. I'm not going to focus only on studying personal growth. I'm not going to study only on making sure my body is healthy, but I will look within first and see where is my true essence. And that's where I'm going to start. And as soon as I change one thing about me, everything else changes in the way I behave, the way I see the world. Now, intuitive leadership, it's actually a very interesting concept. It's leading with deep inner knowing and wisdom rather than rigid structured. Allows for being adaptable, and you have a deep trust in decision-making process. And as we said in the intuition, when we talked about the intuition, is really feeling that something is true without having the data yet. But once you realize that you have something that is true, then you have the opportunity, logically, to go and research and back that up for others, because not everybody is in that place of trusting their intuition or believing that is a good way to actually lead. But it works. Trust me, it works. There's also empathic leadership, using emotional intelligence to guide decision-making and conflict resolution. Empathic leadership brings this element of putting yourself in the other person's shoes and actually trying to see from their perspective. And being empathic doesn't mean of giving everything you have just to make the other person happy. No, but trying to understand and see where you can meet. It doesn't mean that you have to make sacrifices for the other person. Certainly doesn't mean that you have to kind of step over your own boundaries, but it means that you have to consider the other person's request or response as a valid request, as a valid sort of communication with you, and try to make the best decision possible. And also transformational leadership, which is inspiring others to reach their highest potential through vision and purpose. Transformative leadership actually has been very popular during the pandemic and actually post-COVID era, and a lot of the businesses are still continuing to lead with transformative leadership mindset, because they have seen that being flexible and kind of moving with what the collective consciousness moves is better than trying to be stubborn, and you respect all these rigid rules that you have been using for probably 20 years or something. Women are not only rising in power, but in wisdom, consciousness, and of course, holistic leadership. The world is moving from a masculine dominated leadership styles, which is hierarchy, rigid, competitive, very competitive, to more feminine integrated leadership styles, collaboration, nurturing, sustainable. We engage men to be our partners and allies rather than our competitors. We advocate and support new laws for supporting women, not allowing ourselves to fall into the trap of biases, but to take action on what I can do from a personal standpoint. Where can my contribution be valuable? How can I become an ally that someone is searching for? Sitting at home and crying over what the society believes about women, it's not a good approach. What you have to do is actually tune in and see where your truth is. Is that truth? And as I talked about in the map of consciousness, realize that some people are coming from very, very different and very low vibrational emotional states when they think about biases. So that is just a very good perspective to keep in mind as we move forward. We must keep learning and evolve in our journey and rise above these biases. Let the biases be our guide to become better. Let's use our voices to say the same things we can say to our girls and the young women who are stepping into the professional field. The same, they might face the same issues that we have faced, but now they have us, and we can provide better tools for them to handle them. The truth lays in your heart, not in our perception and other people's projection of their reality. And this is it for me. If there are any questions, I will be more than happy to address them. You also can reach me. Let me just, I don't know if you guys are still seeing my slides. You have my email and my LinkedIn profile. I'm more than happy to connect, or should be any questions that might come up.
Thank you so much, Monica Cristoli, for sharing your presentation, and your passion for that topic really came through and made your talk even more inspiring. So we do have a question from our audience. The question is, what is one spiritual principle that women underestimate in leadership but should embrace?
One spiritual
principle,
okay, that women have to embrace.
Yes, that women underestimate in leadership but should embrace.
Okay, well, one of them is this power of self-awareness. We have a very big capacity of being self-aware, but we usually don't do that. Probably about 99% of the women I talk to do not embrace any spiritual awareness like that, because we're not taught. We don't grow up with that sense of being self-aware. And what I mean is that you have to respond to the way your body is responding. Your body is sending you signals about a certain situation, certain events, certain words that are being thrown at you. And we have learned to, sort of put this poker face on and be diplomat and behave in a certain way in the business world particularly. But when you're in a leadership position, if something doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right in your body first, because there is I think a 1/10 of a second difference between your body feeling the sensation first and then your thoughts actually come into your brain. So your body reacts first. You, in a way, in honoring your presence and in honoring the way you behave in the world, one spiritual principle you have to sort of tap into is this self-awareness. Everything starts from within. So the more you work from within, the more you connect within, the better you can express yourself outside.
That answered the question. So thank you so much for answering the question and sharing your presentation with the Daisy Global Virtual Summit 2025. So please do join other speaker sessions and encourage them. So please do join other speaker Sujata. She is already on the backstage. So let's join that section. Thank you and bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.